Hey, it's Nicholas with the Backyard TARDIS, and, well, I'm a bit salty. Why am I salty? Like a salty nerd. That's because I am reviewing Mandalorian, Season 3, Chapter 6, Episode 6, also known as Chapter 22, Guns for Hire. And I'm also salty because I put this off so long because I don't like getting salty. I don't like ranting. And overall, I like the majority of the season, but this season really upset me. But because I waited so long, I had to go back and rewatch it last night and get all angry again. And it's funny, tonight Ahsoka premieres, and I am super hyped for that. I'm probably gonna love it. I have probably totally messed up in the algorithm because everybody is going to be hyping about Ahsoka, and here I am going to drop a video in the middle of the Ahsoka show about why Mandalorian Season 3 sucked. And it's just like, I forge my own path, I do it my own way, so, but yeah, this episode. There's a lot, so let's get into it. First off, we start off with the Mon Cal and the Quarren love affair. The whole thing of her and the tank and the ship, but I'm kind of wondering why the whole ship isn't just filled with water. Like, are part of their crew not fish people? Because otherwise, why isn't the entire spaceship filled with water? Still, the captain sharing the water was neat. What was not neat was them being all kissy face. Like, that was just weird. I feel like it was supposed to be some subtle messaging for like interracial romance, which is fine, that's totally cool, but like I don't know why, but seeing a squid and a fish head kissing and making out was kind of gross. And the little tendrils, like, that was like a little, that's not, nobody wanted, look, I love Admiral Akbar as much as the next guy, but nobody wanted a Mon Cal love story. It's just, no. And then, the Mandalorians, there was some nice moments. It was like, I thought you guys were honorable, and he says, we are, when you pay us, we fulfilled the job. So it just, not a great start to this episode at all. Next, we see that Bo and Din are going to the planet where the Mandalorians are. How did they know that they're there? This is a nitpick. I get on people who are like hung up on the tracking fobs, and this is kind of feels like that. Maybe she had like a ship thing in this fleet because those were her ships, but it just seemed like, I don't know why they're there. They must be working as mercenaries, but somehow she knew to fly straight there. It's just kind of a weird thing. But here's the big thing. The autopilot. This scene makes no sense and breaks all Star Wars canon. Like, the Rebels, all those ships should have just been able to be taken out, because Bo's ship comes in and it's just taken over on an autopilot. Like, they can just do it. Like, man, the rebellion would have died instantly if the Empire just had anytime it was a rebel ship, they could have just gone boop, boop, boop. We're controlling your ship now and you're landing for our forces to come take you. Like, the idea of that technology is so bad. Now, here's the thing. There's an easy fix. It could have been a tractor beam. They could have had them caught in a tractor beam. She could have fight it, not enough power. Been a very A New Hope type thing with Han and the Falcon at the Death Star. But no, it was the actual city, like, hacked her ship and, like, completely took control of her ship and was steering it and all that. That was just bad choicing. All they had to do was make it a tractor beam. Just something so simple like that is like, and this episode we're just getting started. But that is this episode to a T. Constantly getting things just a little off, a little wrong, to the point like any little bit of redeeming fact that this episode has. I mean, it's just like, I will rewatch this season. I won't. Well, I'd said before I would never rewatch this episode, and then I did so I could record this stupid podcast. Oh, I hate this episode so much. Okay. Let's get the big elephants in the room out. They then go visit Jack Black and Lizzo. Okay, I made a fat joke. Okay, yeah. I am a big fat guy. And I don't mind there being big fat people in Star Wars. But Lizzo is no actress. Man, you know, the one good thing timing-wise about making this is after the whole banana incident with Lizzo came to light. You know, a lot of people are her fans, and I think she is a very talented artist. I don't necessarily think, though, that she is a good person. But, you know, people don't have to be, like, separate actors from that. However, I think her acting in this was atrocious. And as far as, like, her art, I have no problem with her being fat and a great flute player. I have a problem that she's dressing in underwear and twerking on stage while performing. That, to me, seems an extremely bad taste. And to be clear, I would find that in bad taste even if she was skinny. I don't, you know, I'm not about that. I've mentioned this multiple times. I'm a bit of a prude, but I don't want that kind of stuff in my regular everyday entertainment. And I don't think as a flute, as like, you know, I already kind of don't like it. Like, pop culture has gone so much towards the sexualization of music and young pop stars and stuff like that. I didn't like that when it was Britney Spears and that kind of stuff. When I was a teen, I didn't like that. I thought that was wrong that they were doing this to other kids. And so I really... So her argument of whether I'm gatekeeping her because she's fat, like, no. I just don't like that thing. I also think it's in bad taste, and I think the people who are into that thing also don't want to see Lizzo. So, yeah. Jack Black is an amazing actor, comedian, artist, musician. A lot of those. I mean, he's kind of an amateur in music, but he's good. He's good. He's great. He is very Jack Black. And there's been a few characters who have been famous people, you know, Samuel L. Jackson, Liam Neeson. You know, there's been people that's like, oh, how do you separate that? And they've flown to the war. There's been a number of comedians, old rockers and stuff like that that I don't recognize, that a lot of people have said that thing. I think Trejo was the big one for me. But Lizzo and Jack Black stick out like eyesores. They're instantly, Jack Black is like a lot of other characters Jack Black has played. He is acting fairly well, but Lizzo is very wooden. Very wooden. Do not like her acting at all in this. But that to say, if that was the worst part of this episode, I'd be happy. I'd be happy. But that is what everybody's focusing on, and I think there is something much, much worse in this episode than Lizzo. So while everybody's like, Jack Black and Lizzo, come on, Star Wars. What is this, you know, Hollywood Square? I feel like I'm watching Extra. Anyways, what do we see them doing? They're drinking secretions off of this thing. Oh, that was just so gross. But here, let's get into their characters. So who does Jack Black playing? Well, he's playing a former Imperial tyrant who basically, well, under military rule, married the leader royal family, and then after that, they chose to hold a democratic election And this planet elected the person who was their former tyrant for the Empire governor, who did a lot of bad things back then, and this princess. So they are both royal bloodline and a democratic election. Really trying to have their cake and eat it too. This just is such a weird and the governmental political messaging in this episode is just wrong and backwards. So, here's this person. Now, they are independent. They are not part of the Republic, the New Republic. They are their own system, their own people, because they're not going to be part of the new corrupt government. No, they are going to have a wonderful utopia of their own. However, the New Republic is, they got big guns, and they came in and said, hey, he was an imperial, so you're not allowed to have an army. Because if you have an army, we're going to come and slaughter your army. So, yet they have an army of battle droids, not just droids, not just Imperial droids, but they have Clone Wars battle droids reprogrammed for peaceful purposes, because the New Republic, when they show in this show that they could, at a computer's moment notice, reprogram all of these droids back to being battle droids. So he had a ready-made army. If he was secretly plotting against the New Republic, he could continue to build up this amass of, these are servant droids, these are servant droids, and all of a sudden hit a button and now I have an army and I'm going to fight you. The stupidity of this whole planet's economy, set up, everything, both from the New Republic stage, from the people of the planet stage, from the leadership of this planet, is just so bad. And I just, Then the scene with Grogu and Lizzo, she's like, ooh, let me see him. Here, they've kidnapped their ship, they've taken him here by force, this, that, and they're like, let me see Grogu. The thing that, and Jim's like, no, he's being daddy. But, Grogu's like, yeah, and leaps across and just flies in her arm. And, man, does the puppet look fake in this episode? It does. Very much. Its movements, its jumps. But they're like, ooh, he loves Lizzo. Then they start talking about, okay, you got to find out about this droid army. We're having a problem with it. And they weren't reprogrammed. They were rehabilitated. What does that mean? What does that mean? They're droids. It'd just be programmed. How not to kill people? 101 for droids. What do they mean rehabilitated? They go to therapy lessons, counseling. They go through registration. It's crazy to me. This is So then we have them going to investigate, and so I got 4 pages of notes. Okay, my notes were out of order. I apologize. I'm going too angrily and shuffling them. Okay, so this rule, they can't bring in an army. That's why they can't use those Mandalorians. But 2 Mandos can come because it's their religion to have weapons. Well, why couldn't 2 Mandos from the giant mercenary army that they have on their payroll to protect their planet, why can't 2 of them come in and do it? They need 2 other Mandalorians to come in and do it. That is the dumbest reasoning ever. That they need to blackmail them. And then they trade a bribe to vouch for them to enter into the New Republic. Except that they're not part of the New Republic. So what would their bribe even mean? This is... I'm getting to it. I haven't even got to the worst part. So, Okay, let's say something positive. They're like, what do you think? And Din says, you had me at battle droids. It's perfect. It's Din's character. He's got all these other missions, but like he doesn't need a reason to distrust droids. He does, especially battle droids. He was like, boom, let's go get them. Like this is a personal vendetta for me. I love that they did this. Christopher Lloyd's character was great, but this was a waste of his character. Of him. So when he was announced, I got to thinking, oh, he's going to be like the head of some like older Mandalorian clan or something. That it would have been cool to him. And while he did great in his acting in this, and he was a fine, decent character, it was just a throwaway line. I take that back. He wasn't a decent character. The acting was decent, but what he was given as dialogue was downright awful. But Christopher Lloyd delivers in the acting, which admittedly Jack Black to some extent did, except that he was still being Jack Black, but he didn't feel too outlandish. But Christopher Lloyd really sank into this character, and that is something that Christopher Lloyd can do. For as popular as he is playing Doc Brown, he was in Clue, he was in Star Trek, The Addams Family. He has a way of seeping into those roles, and I think his personal life, like him in person, gets associated most with Doc Brown and that look. But his other roles, you don't watch Addams Family and go, oh my goodness, that's Doc Brown. You don't watch Star Trek 3 and go, oh my goodness, that's Doc Brown. Like, he puts himself into the role, and some of it I think might be due to his age, but I wasn't going, oh my goodness, that's Doc Brown. So, it was that, but he was, we'll get in as his character develops, but it was a waste of a use of him. I so wish he would have had a better role. Next positive thing, the droid attacking footage. Like, so these are the droids going bad, and they show them attacking, and this is just hilarious. Like, just the way, like, the droids like kicking people. It is comical that, like, these are doing this. This is not like they're not getting shut down or something. These are just funny short clips. Made me laugh. Here we're about to see the really big issue with this episode. People will not turn off the killer droids because they want to be communist with droid and Ugnaught slaves. They want a working class of Ugnaughts and slaves of the droids, but they themselves don't want to work. They want to discuss politics and art and experience things and do that. Basically, this is going to sound like I'm a political person. I'm a person personally, as I've mentioned through the series, I'm a person who believes in God. I'm a person who puts my faith in God, not in human governments. I believe, as it states in the Bible, man is not able to direct his own step, let alone somebody else's. Human governments, they stink. They're awful, they're horrible, they're going to fail, they're going to do us wrong. Doesn't matter whether it's communist, democratic, dictator, whatever. Now, some are worse than others, but they're all bad. They're all bad, and the only way is to, in my point, be a person of faith, support God. That is my personal opinion. However, you see in a lot of these governments styles, there is what you're being sold, and then there's what it actually is. It's, like democracy is like everybody comes together and we vote and it's everything's fair, and every democracy becomes a republic where you elect a representative who then votes for you, and there's a lot of corruption and that's blah 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 blah. And it's the same thing with communism. Communism is this idea that, there's going to be all this equality. It's going to be, everybody is going to be treated completely fair. Nobody's going to be over this, that. It always ends up into like a military government rule, because somebody has to enforce the government, and that's the military. And suddenly the military If everybody else is made equal, and then the military suddenly has power, it then becomes about the military oppressing the people, and we see this in governments around the world. They're having this idea of, no, the droids are the slave class. Like, the droids are having to do everything, and everybody else, we don't have a military. This is the people. The people are enjoying art. We're enjoying being together and having happy merriness and all that stuff like that. And it's really kind of disgusting. It is like The Matrix. It is like Ready Player One. It is like all these different shows that like show people, Wall-E, they're getting fat. And we see, like, Jack Black is a little bit heavy set. Lizzo is big. And we're going to see other heavy set people in this. These people are overweight. They're fat. They're there just consuming material, consuming stuff. And they're not actually working. It's this dream that people are sold on this day in this generation that people shouldn't have to work. Working is fulfilling in life. Having a job and having pride in it, yes, it's work. Yes, you look forward to eventually retiring, but there is something satisfying. And you want to know why there's so much depression in the world? Because people either don't work or they don't appreciate and have pride in their work. You could be working at a fast food joint or a Walmart or something, and you can have pride. A customer comes in and says, oh, I'm really looking for this, and you help them find that. Yeah, you're working at Walmart, you're not changing the world, but you know what? You made that person's day better. And you can have pride and happiness then. So when you work, when you do these things, it has a benefit. It has a point of pride and satisfaction at the end of the day. And sure, there are certain jobs that are more satisfying. I'm a locksmith. There are days where my job is miserable. I am in triple digit weather in a hot van. I am going into disgusting houses, as you've seen in my adventures in locksmithing videos. It's just nasty and disgusting. And I deal with people who are whacked out on drugs or spousal disputes or all these different kind of things. But at the end of the day, I help a little old lady who can't get out of her house because her lock has seized up. I help a mom and 3 kids who's locked herself out of the house, and she's got the kids and the groceries there she can't get in, and I go open that house for them. I've got a hardworking guy trying to get off to work, and he lost the keys to his car, and I go out and I make a key to his truck. There's satisfaction in all of that. There is a benefit. There's a reason why I enjoy and appreciate having work, and I don't want to just be rich and not have to work at all. It's because it gives a bit of meaning and purpose in life. And I would say that if I didn't have to physically work at my job as a locksmith, I would probably be doing something else, probably something spiritual. As I mentioned, I'm a believer in God. I'd be doing more of my ministry work, more helping those in the congregation and whatnot, because it would be something filling and meaningful to do. It would not just be sit home and do my hobbies all the time. I would probably spend more time doing that. Admittedly, sometimes work, which is a means to the end, and there's a reason why. Why do I go do those jobs I don't like? Well, because I have to pay bills. And because, you can't stay in business as a company just picking and choosing what you want to do. You have to take it all in, do all the jobs, and be there, and that's how you get the good word of mouth. But it gives a lot of satisfaction filling. This show is selling like this complete fantasy that kids these days think that they are going to pop out of school and be able to have a house, the government should provide me with a house, and I should get higher education for free from the government, and I, should, like, cars and cell phones, these should be like necessities of life that should be provided to me, and utilities should be provided. Like, there's this concept that all of this, the government should somehow just provide to you, but nobody should have to work. That is not how life works. And that is just something like this episode is portraying that. So, and they're so into this lifestyle that even if people are being murdered, they won't stop it because it would mean they would have to do work. They'd rather be at risk of being murdered by robots, by droids, let's keep it in universe here, than go do an honest day's work. That's sad. That's sad. Moving on. They go to talk to the Ugnaughts, who have been the ones doing the rehabilitation. They're reprogramming it. Why do they have to call it rehabilitation? It's just dumb. Bo's getting nowhere there. She's being very direct. She's trying to be tactful in her own way, but then Din's able to talk. So everyone was saying when this episode came out, the two complaints were the Jack Black and Lizzo, and then a bunch of people were complaining that Bo-Katan, it was like it's her season, and this episode was all about her being better than Din. No, Din took charge for the majority of this episode, and this is one of those instances. Bo's trying to talk, like they're shutting her down. Din talks, is like, look, I've dealt with Ugnaughts. I understand how they work. You're insulting their pride. You got to phrase it right. I love that. Another positive here. The Separatist droids look great. Like the animation looks better than they did back in the Clone Wars movie. Once again, do any of them look suspicious? They all look suspicious. Din with these lines. They're nailing his character in this. And then he just starts kicking them. And Bo is once again, Bo is taking over this. She's like freaked out. What are you doing? And like he's just kicking. And then one goes running. Now, here's where I have a problem. So, something they've been doing in The Mandalorian is they've been copying famous scenes from movies. Sometimes it's from Jurassic Park. We've had Apollo 13. We've had Indiana Jones. We've had just tons of just iconic scenes recreated, shot for shot, choreographed the same. But they've not all been hits. When they did the Back to the Future 2 hoverboard chase scene with the moped people in Book of Boba Fett, that was awful. It looked super slow because while it looked kind of fast paced for a hoverboard, it looked incredibly slow paced when you were trying to say that was a high speed speeder chase. So that didn't work. This is the same thing. They're taking a scene out of iRobot and having this robot run like the robots from iRobot. And I'm sorry, but this is like the more armored battle droid, the heavy battle droid one. They were extremely slow moving in the movies. Oh, there was a limited. They were extremely slow moving in the cartoons. Never once in the cartoons were they leaping around. Like, you had assassin droids. Now, if they'd want to do a shot like that, they should have had it be an assassin droid. That would have been cool to see Din find an assassin droid. But no, they make this armored droid. One of the reasons, these were like armored tank droids. They could take a lot of hits. And they had a ton of firepower. Like, they had much bigger blasters, much stronger firepower. They couldn't move fast. That was like their downside. Jedi went through these things like they were nothing in the show because of that. Making them suddenly able to have super fast reflexes and jump and leap around totally breaks how they've been presented in the universe up to now. I didn't like it at all. I did not like it. And what are they running through? It's the casino planet from Kenobi. They just reused that set aesthetic. All of a sudden, this planet has this Disco Vegas Lights type district. No, I don't want to feel like I'm in Atlanta. Or if that was Casino Planet, this was or Vegas Planet. This is Discount Reno City district. It just no. There was some good banter between Bo and Din. Once again, they're arguing about who's going to take the lead. Bo's like, hey, you seem to have a problem with droids. We're about to go into a bar and entirely full of droids, and maybe you should let me do the talking, because just like you did with the Ugnaughts, I'm going to have better success getting information out here. I don't need you just going in there and killing all the droids. We need to get actual information. So I would also say, why do these droids have credit cards? Because that's how they're getting to this bar. It's like they're looking at it and, oh, his like credit card shows you his money, like that. Like, droid owners should service them, or if they're being issued by the government and people don't actually own the droids, they're just in service to the population, shouldn't they just be able to go and be serviced and all that by the government? Why would they personally need to have a card that was like, hey, I need to be serviced? The concept, like, my favorite part of Star Wars is droids. And you're gonna see me get really excited here in a moment, but I should be super hyped about this droid bar, and I wasn't. I was just so angry. But despite that, I gotta say, RX droids, yes. My voice. I am going to love it anytime I see an RX droid make action figures. I am upset that every different like card dealer, this, that, and Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian, now this, that every one of those RX droids is not a toy figure. You know what? They reskin Clone Troopers, reskin the RX droids. I will buy them all. Captain Rex of Star Tours is the whole reason why I'm into Star Wars. Man, I would just love it if they had all sorts of different variations of this toy. And they don't. They don't. For as big as the Mandalorian is, for all that, they don't like have all these droids and stuff have figures. Despite having agreed to Bo to take her lead, Din immediately goes in and plays bad cop. Once again, Din not taking the backstage, he's taking charge in this story. So everybody that keeps saying that Bo-Katan is taking over, no, Din took charge. The droids then reveal that they're worried about being replaced. At the time, I was thinking it kind of reminded me of immigrant workers. One of the things with immigrant workers is they're treated unfairly, but they realize they have no rights. They can't go anywhere to any institution to get help, and if they try to raise any kind of issue or say they'll expose, they just get let go and replaced. And so they just have a fear of that. But this made me think of something else. Right now, given all the strikes going on right now, this is kind of like how Hollywood works. And it is a kind of a sad state of, this is the problem, I think, of why a lot of our writing, a lot of stuff is bad, is because people who are good, that try to fight for some better pay, better budgets, better show protection, more time to actually get things right, stuff like that. They're constantly thrown with, you can be replaced because you say you're a good writer, we got 100 other people that want to be writers. You say you're a good graphic artist. Look, there are millions of people trying to break into this world and are ready to work our awful hours at making all this CGI. And yeah, they're going to burn out just like you did. But guess what? Then there'll be millions more that want to join after them. And so we can continue to pay you bad, and we can make you work long hours, and we do that. I almost wonder if it was a note towards that, a nod towards that. But I at the time I was thinking, because it's all talking about governments and stuff like that, of how, like, immigrants and stuff are like, these droids are willing to have a horrible job because they're just worried that they're gonna hire organics to replace them. They were battle droids, fit for destruction, but they were given a second chance, and it just was very weird Stockholm, like, because we've come in Star Wars to appreciate droids like people, And to see them just so blatantly treated like, no, they're not people. They're slaves in this. And guess what? We're going to get into this a little bit. They're slaves in this, and the good guys are supporting them being slaves. And they are telling them, we appreciate being slaves. Very weird messaging in this. Very weird messaging on these droids. Then you have all the stuff going on with AI as part of the strikes. And it's just very, very, like, when you look at through that, and it's like, oh, no. We should all not have to work. And the droids, the AI should do all our jobs. Lots of weird ways to sort of take this episode. Now, then they start talking about Nepta. I think I'm saying it. Nepentha. That's how it was said. Oh, what about Nepentha? Why doesn't everybody know what Nepentha is? Like, why do they have to stop and describe this to them? Like, if this is like a basic function of droids, they all have to go to this bar. This is something they need to. I mean, we saw C-3PO get the oil bath, but like, were they having to like give them shots in Nepentha back there on Tatooine? Like, how is it that these characters don't know what that is? If this is like an essential part of that, and it's almost like nanite repair oil, and come to find out there are nanites in it. And so once again, we see an officer that's helping them go through review the data. She's heavy set. She's also got the very short haircut. I'm sorry, I know I'm a guy and I'm judging here, but like I really hate that haircut. But she doesn't act bad or anything. Like I don't hate this character or something like that. But once again, they make the point of getting a very heavy set woman, and I feel like it's part of the messaging. This is part of this planet. These people are overweight because they're letting droids do all the work. And it's a plot twist that she figures out that, hey, who's done this? It's been Doc Brown all along. He's evil. And the robot suddenly like comes to life, tries to shoot them. They take it out, and comes to find out Doc Brown is a separatist. Yes, he's a separatist who doesn't want communism but democracy, and says that that's what Count Dooku and the separatists were all about. They saw that the Republic was failing, and then it was, and so he doesn't want communism. He wants true democracy and all this, and he's the villain. He's the villain, and he wants it so bad he's willing to kill everyone to get democracy. So democracy stands. So everyone on the planet, like, he's going to turn the droids, they're going to murder everybody, but it will be a democracy when he's the only guy left. Like I said, not a political person. I'm not even somebody who I would call pro-democracy. I am pro-worshiping God, looking to God for guidance. I obey the secular authorities, whatever government may it be. But man, is it strong here that he's saying democracy, but they really portray him as kind of like an old school conservative. And I don't want that level of politics in my Star Wars. And they're painting him as evil, as bad. And that is something that really bugs me about the political climate, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, whatever you are, or you're neutral, you're someone like me who puts your faith in God. The constant pushing, as I would describe it, of this world, the air of this world, to vilify half the people in the world as being this evil for their sense of what they feel would be the right kind of government, and to like just paint them as really bad people. And you see it here, like this constant messaging, and it's done by both sides. Don't try to say, yeah, but our side is a little bit better about it. Nah, they're equally awful and horrible about it, trying to create hate between people, just because divisiveness sells. Divisiveness makes you stick closer to their side of thinking, and galvanize you to agree on all the points because you really agree about this one. And it's just amazing how all this stuff works, and to see this kind of seeping into Star Wars. This now we cut away. Lizzo is using Grogu to cheat at space croquet. Really royal and fancy of her. But then they bring Doc Brown in. I can't remember his character's name. Don't care to. I want this to be erased from being canon. But she gives a speech. A very wooden, self-righteous speech that just had me. So I wrote it down. I wrote down my paraphrasing, but I like what it is. Doc, you served me well, but I love Jack Black. Sure, he did bad things, like, persecute our people, but do you have no room in your heart for forgiveness, to give him a second chance, as I have? I can't forgive you. You're banished. Freaking, like, oh yeah, he was horrible. He imprisoned our planet. He ruled over our people harshly. All this, that. But I love him. And don't you have room in your heart to forgive him? But I will not forgive you. I will not forgive you for what you have done, because you've taken the other. This is what I'm talking about. This is that, like, oh yeah, be about forgiveness, be about all this stuff, messaging that's in all the media that people love about forgiving and this and that. But the moment somebody said something in a tweet 10 years ago, cancel them. They're unforgivable. If they ever said that, then they're a bad person at their core. They can't. I mean, but, Kylo Ren? Oh, no, he was redeemed there. This says, why can't you treat actual real people with the level of forgiveness that we give to fictional characters with redemption arcs, or even redemption moments now that they have them? And that was perfectly what we saw here in this episode. Lizzo was being Twitter. She was literally being Twitter. We had a moment there where she was like going, oh, this is beautiful. He was this horrible person and now he's wonderful and I love him and all this. You said this thing, or you did this thing. It's unforgivable. You're banished. I want you canceled. That's Twitter. That's Twitter. It's like when you talk about anything, like they talk about, and I don't care whether you're talking about Star Wars, you're talking about anime, there are these constant stories in pop culture about redemption. Somebody who has fallen, who comes back, the bad guy gets redeemed. It is a constant repeating trope. I'm a Sonic fan. How many Sonic villains are now part of Sonic's friend party? It's like, to the point now, it's like, stop. Some people need to just be villains. They don't need to be redeemed. They don't eventually need to join the good guys. Like, now it's a tired trope. That's out in Star Wars. Like, Vader was redeemed by Luke there at the end. It was great. It was beautiful. And it's like Star Wars seems to now, we need to do that with every character. Every character was redeemable. Every bad guy, nobody can be truly, except for Darth Sidious. He is truly evil. Boom, boom, boom. But everybody else, we're going to redeem him. I am sure in a couple of years, Darth Sidious and Corella will team up and have a movie together, and it'll all be about how they weren't really that bad. And it was all, the Jedi's fault. The Jedi and puppies. That's where we're heading. That's like, but when it comes to in real life people, and I don't care if it's something they said yesterday or 10 years ago, like the fact that, like, sometimes people just say stuff that they don't mean. I'm married. If everybody's married, you know that sometimes you're in the heat of the moment and you blurt something out. And yes, it may be an indication of what you're actually thinking on the inside, but it may also not be what you actually mean. You have thoughts, emotions that come up and swell down. In the heat of the moment, you can really be angry, blah, 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 blah. But then later, what you're thinking inside is not that. Sometimes you can keep the gruff out of pride. You can keep a statement you said in heat up when you don't actually feel that way inside. So the fact that people are completely unwilling to forgive, unwilling to believe that maybe they said this thing, but that's not exactly, no. They said a thing that seems slightly racist. They say a thing that seems slightly sexist, homophobic, whatever it is. They said a thing that seems slightly this. Cancel them. Don't ask for context. Don't look at all the other tweets or things that they've said on social media that say otherwise. Nope. They said this one little thing. We need to cancel them. They are an awful person. Unredeemable. I'm sorry. But seeing a character do that in a single speech, reflect exactly what everybody does on social media, really angered me. Because this isn't the villain. This is the good guy. This is the good person. And this is who Din and Bo are helping to maintain in power. In return for doing this, they're given the keys of the city. It's a space city, and yet it's just like a little small town. And then Grogu is knighted. What did Grogu do in this? Grogu helped her cheat at space cricket. Is that why he's being knighted? I mean, it was like a little thing to please a little kid, like, I knight you, little 8-year-old, blah, 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 playing a game. But no, this is like a royal ceremony. I am a massive Grogu Baby Yoda fan. My daughter, I love that it brought her into Star Wars. I love that little puppet. But this was dumb. It was just plain dumb. Sitting there watching her knight. Okay, now to the part that everybody has a problem with that I don't. Bo goes out finally to challenge X-Wolves, which she could have gone at any point in time. This whole mission, this whole episode was dumb. And they get into a fight. Now, she does not just kick X-Wolves' butt. She doesn't just kick the man's butt. They actually have a bunch of times where he nearly beats her. And it is back and forth, and they are showing off all their Mandalorian weaponry. Because Mandalorians, they have a ton of weapons on them. Tons of unique, different way of battle. And this is one of the most unique, most interesting battles in the whole show. Like, just seeing them go back, because they used everything in the arsenal. Whether it be the shields, the flamethrowers, everything was getting used in this. And finally, she beats him. And he's like, it doesn't matter. They're not going to follow you because you don't have the Darksaber. That dumb zealot over there has it. Now, Din, everybody was upset at how all of a sudden Din just gave this to her. Now, I find that funny because in the episode, when his excuse of, hey, I lost the Darksaber in battle, she defeated the person who captured me. Doesn't that mean that because she reclaimed the Darksaber, that it is now hers by battle, by the rules of Mandalorian? 100% it does. Take on to that. Why didn't Din try to do it then? Because Din knows Bo. Bo doesn't feel worthy. She's that. And Din sees his chance. He can tell the giant group of Mandalorians this. He knows they're going to go, well, yeah, by the rules it's Bo's. And they're going to all tell it to her. And finally, she will accept it because she doesn't feel worthy of it. And hey, Din has said over and over again, hey, he's not in it for this religion. He's not trying to lead and fill these prophecies. Like, he's a Mandalorian. He has things that he believes into his cause. Now, he believes in the honor of Bo-Katan. And that's why he follows her into battle. He said that to her. So, we're seeing here, her destiny has been, her older sister was the ruler of Mandalore. she was part of the government that overthrew that government, and then got taken over by Darth Maul. Then she was part of the crew that came and took that away from Darth Maul, and then she once again became ruler and was given the Darksaber by Sabine Wren because they all stood around there and said, "You are the one who should be ruler. You're the one that can unite us." That is her arc. Her arc is not to take over the show of Mandalore. It is to put her on that throne. It's just like Boba Fett is now head of Tatooine, head of the gangsters, head of that. Like, that is like, they did that horribly, that story arc, but that is where he is. That is what he is. That's what this person is. And that leaves Din, the guy out there in the galaxy, going on the week-to-week missions. These are people that he can pull in, but now you have a narrative reason why they're not on every mission, why they're not there in every episode. Well, because she's now the ruler of a planet trying to be repopulated. And he's going to be on his own quest and message. I think this was great. This was a moment that, from the moment that happened, everybody was saying, why doesn't he hand it back to her? Or does he deserve it anymore? Everybody was upset about that. Now they do it, everybody's upset again. They can't win. I feel like this is a story beat that can be called a mile away. It's what makes sense. It's what should happen. And I don't know why people are upset about it. Din is cool without the Darksaber. He's not the person to wield that. Do you really want a show of him sitting on a throne? Is that what you're hoping for? Because that's where Bo's put herself. She's going to sit on the throne and rule over people. Yes, there will be times when war will come to that home and she will have to get up and lead her people in the charge. But that's not going to be her day-to-day life. And so the fact that they've taken Mando and they've freed him from this burden, it is not to take Mando out of the story. It is to put him back in the story, to put him back center front. Because now it can truly focus on him, and he doesn't have to be the guy who's going there and dealing with all the political whatnot. Overall, this episode, to me, outside of that final battle, is a total loss. Yeah, there are some moments that are nice, some effects that look nice, some effects that don't. But I just feel, and some effects, like with the droid running and stuff, that just completely breaks canon. The Pentha stuff, like, there's weird implications to canon, like crazy. Then the Pentha stuff is like, just, that is a weird, drastic change to the way the universe is viewed, to just haphazardly throw in this episode to make an explanation of what the droids are drinking at this bar. Just have them drinking oil. Make it some weird thing and have nobody understand, what is that? Just, it's lubricant. 3PO says that, a warm oil bath. It's oil. It's oil in Star Wars too. But the big thing is the messaging. The messaging about this world. At the end of the day, our heroes helped firmly establish a planet that relies upon slave droid labor so that they can sit around and do no work and be happy and peaceful. And that we're looking at a world that's talking about AI taking jobs, doing all this. And like, oh, well, yeah, the AI can take all the jobs, and then people can watch TV. People can watch TV, they can go think higher learning, and they can express themselves in art and all this stuff. And except that now the AI can do the art. Like, where does it end? Everybody should just stay home and be a consumer and plug into the matrix, and the robots will make entertainment for us. It's like our heroes are fighting for the bad side. The bad way of thinking, it's just so backwards, so anti what I feel like Star Wars in any way stood for. And that's why this episode is bad. Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing having Lizzo play a princess in your thing, and Jack Black and stuff, and them being goofy. That is it. Yeah, Christopher Lloyd was wasted as a character with this, but the messaging the messaging and implications to canon and the way it portrays our heroes, because they're okay with this and they're rewarded with this and they're getting their hero moment for upholding this corruption, this awful, disgusting dream that people seem to have of what human life should be. I love Star Trek. One of the things I love about Star Trek that a lot of people, because they're losing this in the new Star Trek, but it's this perfect world. They have replicators, all this, and people are still musicians. People still cook real food and grow real food because it's like a trend. And people love to work with their hands. Picard's family doing the grapes and stuff like that. Cisco's dad, cooking the old-fashioned way. None of that replicator stuff. And they all have jobs. They're out there exploring the galaxy, doing all this. Money doesn't exist. They have no sense of monetary gain. Like, yeah, they're giving credits to trade with other planets and stuff like that. But, like, personally, they don't have to, they're not like trying to, if I get this much money, I can have this bigger house or something like that. They are purposely going out and working a job they don't have to go do. That is like the best utopian idea or image of society. Is, hey, if all this technology eliminated all these jobs, we would actually go out and find new, more meaningful, productive jobs. Helping people, going out and exploring, studying the universe, working at making peace, protecting people, these kind of things we would go out and do with our time if machines took all these other jobs away. Not, we can sit around and be fat and eat and jolly all day and discuss and debate theology because we've built a bunch of robots. But they're not just robots, they're droids that have shown that they are, for all intents and purposes, people too. They're shown like a lesser form of people, but we can see these droids have fears, they have worries, they have hopes and dreams and all that, and we treat them like crud and they don't care. They're happy to do it. They're afraid we're going to replace them and just kill them all. This is supposedly the good guys. This is what the good guys propose, and like, oh, we've done this and you're so grand, you've saved us. No. Droids should have all been set free. Hey, go on your way. Let these people figure out how to feed themselves for once. They're like, that would be the moral end of this story. That's why it's so bad to me. This episode has me so salty, just how when you take a step back and you look at what the general plot of this, like just how wrong that is, and you're taking our hero, Din Djarin and Bo-Katan, these are people that we like, and Grogu to some little extent. He didn't actually do anything, but he got knighted because we're giving participation trophies to Baby Yoda. Hey, you came here, you didn't do any of the work, but we're going to give you a knighthood because it's a participation trophy. That's what that was. Like, I'm going to watch Ahsoka tonight, and I'm going to be in love with it. But right now, I'm salty. I like the next 2 episodes. I will be doing that and a review. I'll probably record my Ahsoka reviews as the episodes come out. So, but I will put them out after this. I don't like being live right the week of or whatever. So when the Ahsoka show stops, that's when the Ahsoka ones will start dropping. So, you'll still have a couple more of these on Mandalorian Season 3, because I'm going to do the last 2 episodes probably as one recording like this, and then I'm going to do like a full series recap and just kind of a state of how I compared to other Star Wars, because a lot of people are very down on this season, but is this as bad as the Book of Boba Fett? I'm going to talk a little bit about that, also comparing it to Andor. I know Ro doesn't like me to compare. Shout out to the Red 5 Network, but it's just something you do. It's not necessarily and not entirely the standard to hold it to, but it's a little thing. So with that, hope everybody has a good day, and I'll catch you in the next episode.